Welcome to Dying Isn't Romantic, where we get real about living with dying. I'm your host, Dina Hamilton. In episode 4, The Cost of Cheating Death, we'll be talking a little bit about the challenges we've faced since the transplant. Let's get started with a little housekeeping and an apology. First, the housekeeping. I'm currently having a few issues with my email host. So for the time being, just address all of your emails to dyingisn'tromantic@gmail.com. Again, that's dyingisn'tromantic@gmail.com. I'd like to apologize at this time because it's been so long since you've heard from me. Ray has been dealing with a little bit of work drama, and Madison is home for fall break. And as much as I love doing this podcast, and I love my listeners, my family comes first. So I hope you can forgive me for taking a little time out for those that I love most. Now that we've gotten the business out of the way, I hope you'll allow me to speak to you from my heart. I'm going to be really honest right now. Things have been really hard since the transplant. Not only have our finances taken a huge hit, but we've been impacted physically and emotionally in ways that we were not prepared for. First, I want to look at some assumptions we all make. When we hear the news that someone's disease is in remission, or in our case, someone has received a transplant, generally our reaction is, "Oh, thank God, that's such good news. That means they won't be suffering anymore. It's all over." Except sometimes it isn't. For 4 years, we heard all the great things that were going to happen post-transplant. He'd have more energy. He wouldn't be sick anymore. He'd have a new lease on life. Except in our case, as it turns out it does happen occasionally, it's been more like boarding a flight for Hawaii, and when you land, you're in a third world country instead. Physically, there's been little or no change to his condition, other than he doesn't have to do dialysis any longer. Yes, he does have a fully functioning kidney now, which is great. But he's also been left feeling weak and tired and sickly. The doctors say a lot of this is being caused by the medication. Unfortunately, he has to have the medication to live. So this has meant weekly labs and a constant balancing act of trying to adjust medications to get that delicate balance between minimizing the side effects and keeping his body from rejecting this kidney. Some of the side effects that Ray has encountered has been a permanent hand tremor, digestive issues, bouts of dangerously low white blood cell count, and severe depression. Add to all this the fact that he's tested positive for the CMV virus. This is a virus that's very common, and most of the population has it. In fact, in most cases, it causes absolutely no risk to your health. However, in a transplant patient, that's a completely different story. It can cause all kinds of problems, up to and including rejection of the transplanted organ and death. Honestly, the physical symptoms alone would be enough to send most of us into a depressive spiral. Then you factor in the medication-induced depression and the violent storm of emotions that seem to come out of nowhere after a transplant. I don't have to tell you what an ugly mess that can be. We were fully prepared to feel joy and relief after the transplant. We were not prepared for the negative emotions. Since coming home from the hospital, Ray has been plagued by guilt and anxiety over our finances, to the point of saying that he wished he'd never had the transplant. He's also had a lot of fear and anxiety, starting with the fact that in the hospital they really pounded into you that you have to be careful what you eat, what you drink, who you're around, wash your hands, wear your mask, on and on and on, until it's to the point that it's like they're shouting at you, "Don't do anything or you shall surely die." This has not been helped by the constant medical issues, like his white cell count dropping and the CMV virus. We've had 3 kidney biopsies because his creatinine level keeps climbing when it needs to be dropping. He lives with a near constant fear of rejecting this kidney. And then comes the emotion that really blindsided him. Since the transplant, my husband has been overcome with grief for someone we know absolutely nothing about. Yes, I'm talking about the donor. From day one, Ray has been acutely aware of the fact that in order for him to get this gift, someone had to die, a family had to lose their loved one. And every day, he has grieved that loss as if it was his own. All of this has combined to leave him in a state of depression so profound that he functions merely out of a sense of duty and is often suicidal. Naturally, this leaves me feeling fearful and helpless. Honestly, there's days I just want to quit, but I can't and I won't. Because like I said at the beginning of this podcast, my family is more important to me than anything. I've got a little girl that's counting on me, and I've got a sick husband that needs me. So no matter how tired I get, no matter how hard this battle is, and it is hard, I won't quit. When it gets hard and I get tired, I'll just pick myself up, dust myself off, and I'll fight even harder because they are worth it. And I really need to give a shout out to my husband. This man is my superhero. Even with everything he's going through, Ray is still working a full-time job to support his family. He's doing an internship as he completes his master's in Christian counseling. Part of that internship is he's helping others through depression and related mental issues. Well, he's in the middle of his own battle with those same issues. I don't know about you, but I think that makes him pretty amazing. And in case you're wondering, yes, he is seeing a psychiatrist and a counselor on a regular basis. If you are going through something similar, I encourage you to do the same. Your mental and emotional health is just as important as your physical health, and it is nothing to play around with. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to listen to my heart. Please feel free to leave a comment on the website, www.dyingisn'tromantic.com, or shoot me a line at the email address dyingisn'tromantic@gmail.com. I look forward to hearing from you. Until next time, this has been Dina Hamilton with Dying Isn't Romantic.
You've been listening to Dying Isn't Romantic with Dina Hamilton. If you're finding it hard to cope mentally or emotionally, please reach out to your primary care physician for a referral to a mental health professional, or reach out to your faith leader for counseling if you are more comfortable. If you're having thoughts of suicide or self-harming, please call the National Suicide Hotline at 1-800-273-8255. That's 1-800-273-8255. This is Ray Hamilton. Please join Dina the next time for another episode of Dying Isn't Romantic.